and welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host, Shivangi Mishra. Let's begin with the headlines first. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi strengthened ties with UAE and Qatar marks historic moment with BAP's temple inauguration. Land and water resources threaten livelihoods in Gilgit-Baltistan and POK. And devotees observe Swasthani fast in Nepal, embracing cultural heritage. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi concluded a successful visit to the UAE and Qatar this week, which included an address at the World Government Summit in Dubai and inaugurated UAE's first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. His visit to Qatar came at a crucial time after Doha released all 8 Indian Navy personnel given death sentences on espionage charges.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a whirlwind tour of the UAE this week, where he addressed a well-attended Indian community event, the prestigious World Government Summit, and also inaugurated the first Hindu stone temple in Abu Dhabi, among other engagements. This was Modi's 7th visit to the Gulf state since becoming Prime Minister nearly a decade ago, strengthening ties with one of India's top trading partners. He spoke before thousands of the Indian diaspora at Zayed Stadium and said his third term in office would propel India to become the world's third largest economy. He also highlighted UAE's willingness to the opening of the first ever stone-built Hindu temple in the Middle East.
जब साल 2015 में उनके सामने आप सबकी ओर से यहां अबू धाबी में एक मंदिर का प्रस्ताव रखा तो वो तुरंत एक पल भी गंवाए बिना उन्होंने हाँ कह दिया। और उन्होंने यहां तक कह दिया, जिस जमीन पे तुम लकीर खींच लोगे वो मैं दे दूंगा। और अब अबू धाबी में ये भव्य दिव्य मंदिर के लोकार्पण का ऐतिहासिक समय आ गया है।
In his meeting with UAE's President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan in Abu Dhabi on Tuesday, both sides agreed on a trans-continental trade corridor. The announcement of the framework agreement was released in a statement by the Indian Foreign Ministry, although few details on what the sides had agreed on were made public. The corridor, announced last September on the sidelines of the G20 summit in New Delhi, aims to extend from India across the Arabian Sea to the United Arab Emirates and through Saudi Arabia before connecting through Jordan and Israel to Europe. In his address to the World Government Summit on Wednesday, the Indian Prime Minister said that the world today needs governments which are inclusive and free from corruption. He said in the last few years in India, people's trust in his government has increased. He also expressed gratitude towards UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and said he is not only a leader of vision but also the leader of resolve and commitment. On Wednesday evening, the Prime Minister opened the Grand Hindu Temple in the United Arab Emirates, capping off a 2-day visit to the Muslim nation that is home to around 3.5 million Indians. Accompanied by Hindu religious leaders and monks, PM Modi offered prayers and performed rituals as he toured the temple in an event that was attended by members of the UAE government and the Indian community. The opening of the first traditional stone-carved Hindu temple on the Arabian Peninsula, the birthplace of Islam, is symbolic of the close ties between India and the UAE.
This is a wonderful thing. I'm here 42 years in UAE, and I have seen different stages of Dubai harmony, and this is at the best.
Meanwhile, in the last leg of his visit to the Middle East, PM Modi arrived in Qatar, which he said has added new vigor to the bilateral friendship and underlined that India looks forward to scaling up cooperation with the Gulf nation in key sectors like trade, investment, technology and culture. This visit, which concluded on Thursday, assumed significance as it comes days after a diplomatic victory for India, following the release of 8 ex-Indian Navy personnel who were detained in Qatar for nearly 18 months since August 2022. During his less than 24 hours visit, his second since 2014, PM Modi held a wide-ranging talks with Qatar Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, primarily focusing on significantly expanding India-Qatar ties in areas of trade, energy, investment and new technology.
The people of Gilgit-Baltistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir now find themselves facing a rather different problem. With overexploitation of land and water resources in the region, the important components required for the livelihoods are being destroyed rapidly. Ponds are drying and the water supply for the people is less. People are compelled to use the contaminated water for drinking and domestic use. However, the serious issue has still not caught the attention of the federal authorities. Let's delve into the matter with this report.
The problem of global warming and climate change have been a major concern for the people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir nowadays. Forest fires, poaching, smuggling and corruption are destroying the forests on a daily basis. Due to excessive land resource exploitation, POK has experienced several forest fires and major water shortages. Still, the authorities in the region are not bothering to take steps in order to repair the damage already done. Locals from the area feel that the federal government should immediately address the issue before it is too late. For the residents of POK and Gilgit-Baltistan, forestry forms an important component of livelihoods, thus helping them in survival.
पानी के ज़ख़ीरे जो हैं वो जंगलात होते हैं और जंगलात जो है ये तबाही का शिकार होते हैं। कुछ आतिशबाज़ी की वजह से, कुछ लूट खसूट की वजह से, करप्शन की वजह से ये ऐसा हुआ है। हुकूमत को ये चाहिए कि हुकूमत जंगलात को उगाने के सिलसिले में जंगलात को एक ऐसी मुहिम के तौर पर कौमी शजरकारी ऐसी करनी चाहिए जिसमें लोगों को की इन्वॉल्वमेंट जो है ये ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि लोगों के से जब तक कि हम वो पूरा ताउन हासिल नहीं करेंगे, लोग ये नहीं समझेंगे कि हमारी एम्पावरमेंट है, ये जंगलात हमारे हैं।
Not just being limited to the exploitation of forests, POK has also been suffering from major water shortages. As the local ponds and other water bodies dry fast because of climate change, people of the area are forced to wander for kilometers in search of water. As the water bodies are drying, the people of POK have to frequently depend upon seasonal water seeping from mountains. Locals are forced to store this water in bulk, as they do not know what they will do once this seasonal water also dries up.
2-3 महीने से बारिश है ही नहीं है, बिल्कुल जंगलों में आग है, पानी बिल्कुल खुश्क हो गए हैं, बड़े मसले से हैं। ये बाहर के लेके जाते हैं, यही खाते हैं, यही पकाते हैं, जानवरों को यही पिलाते हैं, बड़े परेशानी में हैं। दरिया भी बिल्कुल कम हो गया है, जो चश्मे थे वो भी सूख गए हैं बिल्कुल। ये थोड़ा सा बहुत पानी अगर बारिश नहीं ये भी ख़त्म हो जाएगा। हम लोग तो बहुत करीब ही हैं, साथ ही हैं, लेकिन ये जो मटके वाले लोग हैं ना, ये रनवार से आते हैं, ऊपर चड़कपुरा, रनवार, चंदेरा, इस तरफ से मसाफत कम से कम 7-8-10 किलोमीटर से आते हैं ये लोग।
The cries of the sufferings of the people of POK and Gilgit-Baltistan are not falling on the deaf ears of the administration. The government, despite using and exploiting land and water resources from the area, feel no sense of responsibility for the people of this region. No matter how much the people may suffer, they don't care.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
Palestinians in Rafah said a mosque and several houses were hit by Israeli strikes, causing widespread panic among people who had been asleep. The Gaza Health Ministry said 67 people had been killed and the number could rise as rescue operations were underway. Some feared Israel had begun a long-feared ground offensive in the city, where more than 1 million people displaced by Israel's war on Hamas are sheltering with nowhere else to go. Hamas said the attack on Rafah was a continuation of a genocidal war and forced displacement attempts Israel has waged against the Palestinian people. Hamas militants killed 1,200 people in southern Israel and abducted at least 250 in their October 7 incursion. Israel has responded with a military assault on the Gaza Strip. India's Unified Payments Interface for digital transactions was launched in Sri Lanka and Mauritius last week. The Unified Payments Interface is a real-time quick payment system designed by the National Payments Corporation of India to make virtual interbank transactions on mobile devices simple. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi joined his Mauritian counterpart Pravin Jugnauth and Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe virtually for the launch event. Residents living in Mauritius and Sri Lanka displayed a sample transaction, which was the first of its kind in both nations. Along with UPI, RuPay card services were also launched in Mauritius. India received $89 billion in foreign remittances in 2021-22, the highest ever in a year by any nation. The World Bank has projected that number to rise to $100 billion in the current year. US forces on the USS aircraft carrier Dwight D. Eisenhower say they have successfully protected 2,000 merchant vessels that have transited through the Red Sea. US Navy Commander Mark Miguez said the US forces have seen a reduction in the Houthis' activity over the last 60 days. Houthi militants in Yemen control the country's most populous regions and have repeatedly launched drones and missiles against international commercial shipping since mid-November. Houthis say the attacks are a response to Israel's military actions in Gaza and that they are carried out in sympathy with the Palestinian militant group Hamas. The attacks have prompted several companies to halt Red Sea journeys and opt for a longer and more expensive route around Africa.
In India, spices are not merely ingredients. They are a cultural tapestry woven into life's very fabric. From the earthy symphony of turmeric to the fiery whispers of chilies, each region boasts its unique blend, a secret language spoken through cardamom's sweetness or the smoky depth of cloves. In today's episode, we'll give you a glimpse of India's spices, which more than adding magic to meals have fostered exchange across the world for centuries. Spices in India have long been a part of its cultural fabric and are inculcated in the minds of people through their aromatic, rich flavors and delectable tastes. These spices used in dishes also vary depending on the region, the type of dish and the personal preferences of the cook. Turmeric, coriander, garam masala, black pepper and cayenne pepper. These spices play a crucial role in adding unique flavors to food. Traditionally, spices have been used in cooking to make food appetizing and flavorsome. Besides flavoring, they also hold medicinal and religious significance. For instance, turmeric is believed to be anti-inflammatory, and ginger is believed to be good for digestion. The history of Indian spices used in cooking is centuries old, as Indian Ayurvedic texts like the Sagarmataha, which is believed to have existed somewhere around the 2nd century, also document the medicinal uses of spices, showcasing their holistic significance. Moreover, Kingdoms like the Mauryas and the Cholas actively participated in the spice trade, enriching their economies and cultural exchange. Today, Indian spices are used all over the world in a variety of products such as sauces, bakery goods, frozen foods, beverages, dressings, and packaged foods. Of the 109 variety of spices listed by the International Organization for Standardization, about 75 are produced in India.
बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा है। हमारे मसाले दुनिया भर के देशों में जा रहे हैं, स्पेशली अमेरिका में बहुत मसाले जा रहे हैं। हमारे मसालों की क्वालिटी इतनी बढ़िया है कि ज़्यादातर देशों में उनका इंपोर्ट है।
Kozhikode, often called the city of spices in Kerala, produces a wide array of spices like black pepper, bay leaf, cardamom, cloves, cinnamon, nutmeg and vanilla pod, which are exported to foreign countries. Moreover, the production of spices like chilies and coriander from states like Andhra Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh are adding to the economy of the country with their increased exports. According to the India Brand Equity Foundation, during the year 2022-23, the production of spices stood at 11.14 million tons, while India exported spices and spice-related products worth $3.73 billion to 180 countries in 2022-23. Indian spices are mostly exported to China, the US, Bangladesh, Thailand, the UAE, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, UK, Indonesia and Germany. More than 70% of all export revenues in the year 2020-2021 came from these markets.
I think we will be touching an annual growth between 10 to 12% very soon, and the Indian government has they have a target to touch about 19.5% annual export sales. So we can, be out there in the global market.
Recently, a global spice summit was organized in Rajasthan's Jaipur, where many big names from the spice industry were in attendance from across the world. The summit was an initiative to promote Indian brands selling spices by providing a platform for industrialists to interact with and promote their products globally.
भारत आज से हज़ारों सालों से ही नहीं, आज से नहीं हज़ारों सालों से मसालों के लिए बहुत प्रसिद्ध है। और आज के डेट में अगर हर मसाला व्यापारी मसाला बनाने वाला अगर एक दूसरे से जुड़ा रहे, एक दूसरे की बात समझे, समस्याएं समझे, क्या नेशनल इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे समस्याएं आ रही हैं, तो इस समिट से काफ़ी चीज़ों का हल हो सकता है। सरकार से काफ़ी प्रोत्साहन मिल रहा है, पीछे किसानों को भी काफ़ी प्रोत्साहन मिल रहा है। ये मैं कहूँगा कि अच्छी सरकार अच्छा व्यापार देती है।
Due to the ongoing growth in the Indian spice market, those setting up their industries in this sector are also getting a lot of benefits. Taking forward their marketing initiatives, major spice manufacturers are coming out with their new products. Meanwhile, farmers are benefiting from the increase in demand and production. The rich and vibrant festivals in Nepal are a testimony to the country's diverse tradition and culture. This week in our cultural lineup, we will show you a unique Hindu festival celebrated in the Himalayan nation, Swastani Brat. Scores of Hindu devotees gathered at Bagmati River and took a holy dip, performed rituals as part of their first Pardes Yatra, and month-long festival began. The annual event is devoted to fasting, holy bathing and reading of sacred text. We have a report. Chants of Madhav Narayan echoed on the embankments of Bhagmati River from the early hours of Friday as women donned in maroon red outfits stood in line to perform rituals. They have travelled about 13 kilometers on foot to Pashupati Nath temple as a part of their first Pardes Yatra, which comes as a part of ritual performed while undergoing month-long arduous Swastani Brat. As per the followed tradition, women undertaking the month-long Swastani Brat travel to Narayan and Shiva temples inside and other districts adjoining Kathmandu in group.
भगवान को एक महीने व्रत जुन प्रत्येक वर्ष पौष शुक्ल पूर्णिमादेखि माघ शुक्ल पूर्णिमा जुन 30 दिनसम्म भगवान व्रत माधव नारायणको कठिन र कठोर व्रत हो। यो व्रतमा चाहिँ एक महिनासम्म व्रतालु भक्तजनहरू एक छाक मात्र खाएर चाहिँ मतलब चाहिँ व्रत बस्ने चीज हो। यसमा पनि विशेष खाने मात्र खान मिल्छ, धेरै थोक हुँदैन, जम्मा 9 थरी 10 थरीको मात्र खाना हुन्छ र नुन यसमा पटक्कै एक महिनासम्म छुनै हुँदैन र यो परम्परादेखि चलिआएको व्रत हिसाबले आज जुन 15औं दिनमा हाम्रो परदेश यात्राको क्रमको लागि चाहिँ हिजो हामी बेलुका साल नदीबाट पैदल यात्रा गरे सम्पूर्ण व्रतालु भक्तजनहरू।
Devotees who take on fast for a month don't eat foods cooked by others, which also exclude salt and other spices. They only eat rice, beaten rice, sugar, ghee, sugar candy, molasses, peas amongst those considered sacred. The annual ritual of Swastani Brat Katha starts from the full moon day of Posh, 9th month of lunar calendar, kick-starting the recitation of the religious sermons. The book of Swastani mainly tells the story of Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati that is described in Skanda Puran, belonging to the Hindu secondary scripture. It also has directives which states about do's and don'ts to be followed while undertaking a month-long fast that has been followed on long run. Goddess Swastani is worshipped throughout month with priests and devotees taking on fasting along with those who aren't taking fasting recite tales of Swastani Devi, Lord Shiva and other gods.
ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरको नारायण हो र श्री परापूर्व कालमा श्री महादेवको स्वामी पाउनको लागि पार्वती माताले श्री स्वस्तानी परमेश्वरको व्रत गर्नुभएको थियो। स्वस्तानीको व्रतको कसरी प्रारम्भ गर्ने, त्यो व्रतलाई कसरी अगाडि बढाउने, व्रत कसरी बस्ने भन्ने कुराको विधि विधान सम्पूर्ण कुरो माधव नारायण भगवानले त्यो जुन वृत्तान्त पार्वतीलाई भनेर पार्वतीले अब व्रत बस्नु भएको यो किमा यो उल्लेख भएको कुरा छ। त्यसकारणले गर्दा त्यही माधव नारायण भगवान जसले स्वस्तानी व्रतको जुन वृत्तान्त बताएर पार्वतीलाई महादेवको स्वामी पाउने जुन उद्देश्य उहाँको थियो त्यो व्रत प्रारम्भ गराउनु भएको कारणले गर्दा त्यो व्रतको प्रारम्भ गराउने माधव नारायण भगवान हो।
Hindus in Nepal read one chapter a day of 31-chaptered religious book which comprises of stories including tales about the creation of the world, Hindu deities and demons. The scripture also has a section which states about the start of taking on the fast, which brought in prosperity and happiness, which mentions about Salandi, which is also the reason for people to flock to a particular place to take on the fast. This heart penance by the devotees indeed results in fulfillment of the wishes and desires. The month-long rituals end with immersing all the offerings made to the goddess into the river. Now it's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We'll be back next week at the same time. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.